Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Puri Rajakacharya Ashtotar Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, and welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Friday, January the 3rd, 2024 in New York, and today we're starting with Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 8, and starting with text number 78. hoping that Maharaj may show up at any moment. I'll send him a note right now in case sometimes his computer is out of sync with his phone, but I'll just make sure that he knows that we're hoping he arrives. Just a moment. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Get back to my window where we are in the Bhagavatam. Yes. So we're reading now about Dhruva Maharaj's success in yoga practice. Hare Krishna. Adharam Mahadadinam Pradhana Purusheshwaram Brahmadharayam Manasya Trayolokaschakampire. When Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation, and who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. In this verse, the particular word Brahma is very significant. Brahman refers to one who not only is the greatest, but has the potency to expand to an unlimited extent. How was it possible for Dhruva Maharaj to capture Brahman within his heart? This question has been very nicely answered by Jiva Goswami. He says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of Brahman. For since he comprises everything material and spiritual, there cannot be anything greater than he. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the Supreme Godhead says, I am the resting place of Brahman. Many persons, especially the Mayavadi philosophers, consider Brahman the biggest, all-expanding substance. But according to this verse and other Vedic literatures, such as Bhagavad Gita, the resting place of Brahman is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the resting place of the sunshine is the sun globe. Srila Jiva Goswami therefore says that since the transcendental form of the Lord is the seed of all greatness, he is the Supreme Brahman. Since the Supreme Brahman was situated in the heart of Dhruva Maharaj, he became heavier than the heaviest, and therefore everything trembled in all three worlds and in the spiritual world. The Mahat Tattva, or the sum total of the material creation, is to be understood to be the ultimate end of all universes, including all the living entities therein. Brahman is the resort of the Mahat Tattva, which includes all material and spiritual entities. It is described in this connection that the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, is the master of both Pradhan and Purusha. Pradhan means subtle matter, such as ether. Purusha means the spiritual spark living entities who are entangled in that subtle material existence. These may also be described as para prakriti and apara prakriti, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, being the controller of both the prakritis, is thus the master of Pradhan and Purusha. In the Vedic hymns also, the Supreme Brahman is described as Anta Pravishta Shasta. This indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is controlling everything and entering into everything. The Brahma Samhita 535 further confirms this. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. He has entered not only the universes, but even the atom. In Bhagavad Gita 10:42, Krishna also says, Vishtabhyaham idang kritsnam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead controls everything by entering into everything. By associating constantly with the Supreme Personality in his heart, Dhruva Maharaj naturally became equal to the greatest, Brahman, by his association, and thus became the heaviest, and the entire universe trembled. In conclusion, a person who always concentrates on the transcendental form of Krishna within his heart can very easily strike the whole world with wonder at his activities. This is the perfection of yoga performance, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6:47, Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all yogis, the bhakti yogi who thinks of Krishna always within his heart and engages in his loving transcendental service is the topmost. Ordinary yogis can exhibit wonderful material activities known as Ashtasiddhi, 8 kinds of yogic perfection. But a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass these perfections by performing activities which can make the whole universe tremble. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanja Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just to give some context for today's verse, the previous verse described like this: he meaning Dhruva Maharaj, he completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then here, when Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation, and who is the master of all living entities, the 3 worlds began to tremble. And I was very glad to read in the purport that Prabhupada himself brings up this point. How was it possible for Dhruva Maharaj to capture Brahman within his heart? And I was even more glad that he says this question has been very nicely answered by Jiva Goswami, because you can read this verse and think, well, how is it that, how did this happen? How did Dhruva Maharaj have this potency? Because if you understand, as Prabhupada quotes later, and the Lord is in every atom. So in that sense, everything is within everything else, because Krishna is within everything. Everything's within Krishna. Therefore, everything is within everything else. So why should Dhruva have this special potency? if everything's already in everything else? It seems like what makes him so special? But then he goes on to explain, thanks to Jiva Goswami, he says, I am the resting place of Brahman. I love the phrase that he uses here, the seed of all greatness. He describes Krishna as the seed of all greatness. In other words, um, Aham bija prada pita. He's not only the seed-giving father of all living entities, but he himself is the seed of all greatness. And everything expands from Krishna. Janmadyasya yataha. Uh, that's the way we understand Krishna. He's not just quote unquote God, but he's the ultimate source of all energies. And here he says, many persons, especially the Mayavadi philosophers, consider Brahman the biggest all-expanding substance. And if most dictionary definitions of Brahman are steeped in this Mayavadi understanding, they can't get their heads beyond anything greater than Brahman, which means the greatest. But here he makes the point also that, where is it? Yes, Brahman refers to one who not only is the greatest, but has the potency to expand to an unlimited extent. So when we talk about Brahman, Paramatma, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdyate, it's not a static thing. Brahman is seen as a static thing by the Mayavadi philosophers because they're trying in their own way to wrap their heads around something which cannot be wrapped around by anyone's head. Brahman is the energy of Krishna, and as such, as Krishna expands, Brahman also expands. How can the unlimited unlimitedly expand? That's the nature of unlimited potency. It's not bound by our imaginative ability. He says also here, the Brahman is the resort of the Mahat Tattva, which includes all material and spiritual entities. I was very grateful when I read this because in various places in the second canto, in the third canto also, Pradhan is described, Mahat Tattva is described, and these things are so big, so vast, so all-encompassing that it can be difficult to really grasp the difference between, for example, Mahat Tattva and Pradhan. But here, this helped me very much, where it says Brahman is the resort of the Mahat Tattva. In other words, everything is resting on Brahman. Brahmano hi pratistaham is another verse that's alluded to in the purport here. So everything is resting on Krishna, and that everything is Brahman. Within that Brahman, there are other things, such as the Mahat Tattva. And the Mahat Tattva is to Brahman in one sense. So Brahman is the resort of the Mahat Tattva. It's like Brahman is the energy of Krishna. It's the all-expanding energy. It's the place where everything exists, that everything exists within. And Krishna is within it and beyond it as well. He's the source of it. So there's a place for everything, which is Brahman, and everything is in its place. But as we understand by reading the Vaishnava philosophy, that the greatest thing is not Brahman, but is the source of Brahman, which is a person. And the greatest thing is not the place, but the relationships that happen in that place. So Mahatattva is, at least this is my current working understanding based on what I'm reading in this port and what we've previously discussed in the early sections of the Bhagavatam. It helps me to understand that Mahatattva is the place where Pradhan is. That's in the material sense. Mahatattva is that place within Brahman where the material universes exist. And Pradhan is that, as Prabhupada says here, the subtle energy within the universe from which all the gross elements precipitate out, as much as Brahman is the place where the Purushas are. There's, because in the spiritual world, Krishna is the supreme Purusha, and everything is happening within his energy, Brahman. And in this world, we're all imagining ourselves to be Purushas. We're all in the Mahat Tattva, but we're not actually enjoying spiritual pleasure. We're distracted endlessly by the different manifestations of Pradhan. But this purport helps us to expand our view to see the resting place of Brahman is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the resting place of the sunshine is the sun globe. And that's where I think he may have gotten this term, the seed of greatness. He says, Srila Jiva Goswami therefore says, since this transcendental form of the Lord is the seed of all greatness, he is the supreme Brahman. And once Dhruva Maharaj was able to fix his mind with perfect determination on that form of the Lord, he was associating with Krishna. Krishna became present, because where your attention goes, that's where your energy goes. And yeyatamang prapadyante tangs tataiva bhajam yaham. Krishna reciprocates with the living entities who are completely fixed on him. He becomes completely fixed on them. And as we'll read in subsequent verses, this has very interesting ramifications for the inhabitants of Earth, the inhabitants of the universe. Once Dhruva Maharaj, as it is said here, captured the supreme Brahman within his heart, all kind of interesting things happen. And then later in the purport, Prabhupada says something also that very interesting. He says that in conclusion, a person who always concentrates on the transcendental form of Krishna within his heart can very easily strike the whole world with wonder at his activities. And to my mind, this is exactly what Srila Prabhupada himself did. He says that yogis can do magical things and blow everybody's mind and have people thinking that, oh, Bhagavan. But a devotee can really strike the whole world with wonder. And he says, to finish the purport, a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass all these yogic perfections by performing activities which can make the whole universe tremble. Hare Krishna. I'm so grateful, Maharaj, you're able to join us today. Would you care to comment on this verse in purport, text 78?
No. One thing is I'm late, and the other is that sounded good, what I was hearing from you.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, fortunately, we've got a very active chat, which I still have to open up here. Just give me a moment. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. Oh, several people saying they're unable to actively participate. Anantashesha Prabhu says, thank you for your comment, Anantashesha Prabhu. It's impossible to understand Brahman by souls conditioned by material physical laws. Would you care to comment on that, Maharaj? It's an interesting statement.
One more time.
He says it's impossible to understand Brahman by souls conditioned by material physical laws.
Yeah. The Brahman is achintya, inconceivable, and beyond the range of the senses. So where's the question of understanding by souls conditioned by the material laws? Not possible.
Yes, thank you to Shesha Prabhu. Yovananandamata brings up a point that I was wondering about also, and hopefully, Maharaj, you might care to comment here. This is from the previous verse describing how Dhruva Maharaj completely controlled his senses and their objects. What does their objects mean?
Well, it seems to be the tanmatras. The objects of the senses are form, taste, sound, touch, smell. So they're not the things exactly. They're not something tasty, something beautiful. They're the subtle form of the of that which is perceived. Mantras.
Thank you. Yes, that's very helpful because it's easy for, as Ananta Shesha Prabhu says, conditioned souls conditioned by material physical laws to think that, wait a minute, how do you control sense objects? But when you bring it into the realm of the tanmatras, that's a different, yeah, it's like the interface between you and the actual objects. It's the experience of those things. Praveen Krishna Prabhu says, comment and question here, there are other great devotees of the Lord. We do not hear of them trembling the earth. Can we say then that the Lord wanted to highlight Dhruva to the world?
Yes, we can say that. And well, not everything is manifest the same way. When the Lord manifests the greatness of a devotee, it's manifest in different features. So here it's manifest in this feature.
Jai. Priti Purna Madhavi Devi says, Hare Krishna. My chat window is a little obscured here. Is it not the same for all pure devotees that they have captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their heart? It is inconceivable how only Dhruva Maharaj is experiencing this supernatural power to tremble the three worlds. She goes on to say, this trembling may be manifesting differently also, like for Srila Prabhupada. And in Guru Puja, the text says, Ebi Jash Gushuk Tribhuvana.
Again, how it's manifest will differ.
Jai. All right, Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions here? Certainly a lot going on in the verse. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's very interesting to hear how that very question, how is it that Dhruva Maharaj was able to capture Brahman within his heart? I was thinking also, Mata Parataram Nanyat. There's nothing superior to me. And then Krishna lists all the elements. He says there's this, there's the jiva, then there's matter, there's spirit, the controller of both. And beyond that, that's it. That's all there is. That's the whole ontology. And if you've captured Krishna in your heart, you've got everything. And like you said, Maharaj, this is how Krishna wanted to highlight Dhruva's glories. Just see what the pure devotees can do. Vijay Krishna Prabhu asks, is there any other scriptural pastime describing a pure devotee of the Lord who performs activities which can make the whole universe tremble apart from Dhruva Maharaj?
Nothing comes to my mind like this.
If you'll pardon me, something came to my mind. I was thinking of the activities of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. It said that when
Also, that came to my mind.
when they're lapsed devotees, not acting as devotees, but same kind of potency, but different. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's see. Moving on then to text number 79. Maharaj, you don't happen to have an in-studio audience with you today?
No, I don't.
Okay. Vijay Krishna Prabhu, would you like to read our text 79?
Yes, I can read that, Prabhu. Thank you very much, you're most kind. Text 79. Yadaika patena sa partivar bakas tashtau tadan gusta nipidita nahi nanam tatradam nibendra dishtita tariva savyet tarata pade pade. Translation. As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg, the pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. Purport. The most significant expression in this verse is Partivar Baka, son of the king. When Dhruva Maharaj was at home, although he was a king's son, he was prevented from getting on the lap of his father. But when he became advanced in self-realization or devotional service, by the pressure of his toe, he could push down the whole earth. That is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. In ordinary consciousness, a king's son may be refused something even by his father. But when the same person becomes fully Krishna conscious within his heart, he can push down the earth with the pressure of his toe. One cannot argue, quote, how is it that Dhruva Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down the whole earth, close quote. This argument is not very much appreciated by the learned, for it is an example of Nagna Matrika logic. By this logic, one would think that because his mother in her childhood was naked, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. The stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way. Since she had refused to allow him to get up on the lap of his father, how could Dhruva perform such wonderful activities as pressing down the whole earth? She must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruva Maharaj, by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, could press down the entire earth, like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it is loaded.
Thank you for reading, Prabhu. Any comments from your side?
I find I liked it when I read that the stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj, like maybe out of envy. I tried to prevent him from getting a higher position, because he didn't get birth from my womb, but now he is pressing down the entire earth with his toe, like getting to know that when she was preventing him from getting on the lap of his father, she was dealing like fire and with fire, and she did get burned, if I'm not wrong, for doing that. That is my comment.
Thank you, Prabhu. Maharaj, would you care to comment here?
I don't have something immediately to add. Let's see. We do find that no, but I'll hold off.
All right. Venkatesh Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Just curious to know something related to Prabhupada's purports. In modern literary works, the author mentions the references to works of other authors in line with the main text whenever used. What could be the reason why Srila Prabhupada chose to not mention the commentary references in Bhagavatam in line with the main text? About 20 references are mentioned at the end of each volume of Bhagavatam.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashrita Deshatani. This is fairly typical of the writings of the acharyas. Sometimes they cite sources and sometimes they don't. We'll find that Baladev Vijayabhushan's Bhagavad Gita commentary sometimes just says practically the same thing as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, just in a different set of words, or sometimes it repeats and then adds something. So this is how it's often done. Rabindra Sri Prabhu once quipped that in the material world we call this plagiarism, and in the spiritual world we call it parampara.
Thank you for the question, Venkatesh Prabhu.
And sometimes Prabhupada, of course, does. He'll say that without quoting chapter and verse, that according to Acharya Vishwanath or according to this or that commentator, but he doesn't feel obliged to always do that. In one sense, there'd be nothing left. Although that's not true also, because Prabhupada sometimes adds unique contributions or points of view. But he's following. That's the point. He's following the acharyas. So sometimes he acknowledges a source or sometimes just follows.
Speaking of the acharyas, the commentary of Srila Vishwanath gives us another interesting angle of vision on what happened when Dhruva Maharaj's toe pushed down the earth. He says that the earth, pressed by his big toe, sank down by half a pradesh, half of 5 inches, just as a boat with an elephant sinks on the left and then the right with its steps. And then he makes a point on Sanskrit grammar. Ardham is in the accusative case indicating a duration. And there's a footnote, but I don't know where the footnote goes, so I can't say anything about that. Half a pradesh, 2.5 inches. That's how far the earth. And I thought it was interesting that when Prabhupada says, he says the press down half the earth, push down half the earth, which makes one understandably wonder how do you push down half the earth? It seems like if you push down the earth, you push down the whole earth. How do you push down only half of it?
Well, that example is given that the way an elephant rocks a boat. So you're pushing down and it's going like that, and then pushing down and it's going like that.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions on text 79? Oh, yes, there is more. Praveen Krishna Prabhu, he's citing perhaps from Hayagriva, I'm not sure. Hayagriva Prabhu. He says, Swamiji finally tires of my consulting him about Bhagavad Gita verses. Just copy the verses from some other translation, he tells me, discarding the whole matter with a wave of his hand. I can't just copy others, I say. There is no harm, but that's plagiarism. How is that? They are Krishna's words. Krishna's words are clear like the sun. Just these rascal commentators have diverted the meaning by saying not to Krishna. So my purports are saying to Krishna. That is the only difference. Sounds like it could have been from the Hare Krishna explosion. I'm not sure.
Yes, I think so.
Thank you, Praveen Krishna Prabhu. All right, text 80. Let's see who might be able to read here. Priti Purnamadavi Devi, would you like to read text 80?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Jai.
तस्मिन् अभिध्यायते विश्वमात्मनो द्वारं निरुध्यासम् अन्यया धिया लोकानरश्वास निपीडिता वृशं स लोकपाला शरणं ययुर्हरिम्. When Dhruv Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, the total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating and his closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked up, and all the great demigods in all the planetary systems felt suffocated and thus took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: when hundreds of persons are sitting in an airplane, although they remain individual units, they each share in the total force of the airplane, which runs at thousands of miles per hour. Similarly, when unit energy is identified with the service of the total energy, the unit energy becomes as powerful as the total energy. As explained in the previous verse, Dhruv Maharaj, because of his spiritual advancement, became almost the total heaviness, and thus he pressed down the whole earth. Moreover, by such spiritual power, his unit body became the total body of the universe. Thus, when he closed the holes of his unit body to firmly concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the units of the universe, namely all the living entities, including the big demigods, felt the pressure of suffocation, as if their breathing were being choked. Therefore, they all took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they were perplexed as to what had happened. This example of Dhruv Maharaj closing the holes of his personal body and thereby closing the breathing holes of the total universe clearly indicates that a devotee, by his personal devotional service, can influence all the people of the whole world to become devotees of the Lord. If there is only one pure devotee in pure Krishna consciousness, he can change the total consciousness of the world into Krishna consciousness. This is not very difficult to understand if we study the behavior of Dhruv Maharaj. Although mm, it is inconceivable to to conceive what is mentioned or to understand what is mentioned in the verse, how it all happened in real. But Srila Prabhupada is translating the application of these verses in this last paragraph of what it means for us and how we can see it practically happening, the influence of a pure devotee on the whole world. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for reading, Mataji. Maharaj, would you care to comment here?
Just the Prabhupada gives the example of the airplane and everyone becoming one with the force of the airplane, and that makes things very clear. It got me thinking further about just the same sort of thing, but in a different way. How someone's riding on a motorcycle, and the man and machine became one, and you get that picture of the rider and the machine essentially merging in power and energy and all of that. So it's really the same example, but translated culturally into a slightly more egotistical framework. But you get that idea of oneness between this very powerful machine and the rider of the machine. So here there's a oneness achieved between the earth itself and Dhruva Maharaj, who's become essentially one with the universal body.
Jai, thank you, Maharaj. And Yoganananda Mataji says Prabhupada is an example of this same thing. And I think, Maharaj, maybe you are also given this example in the past of if you're on a bicycle and you grab on the back of a truck that's going at 40 miles an hour, suddenly you're going at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour.
You probably gave that example.
Mm-hmm. When I looked at this comment here of Prabhupada, if there's only one pure devotee, he can change the total consciousness of the world. I always think of that statement of his where he's speaking to some group of his devotees. And he said, I am just one person, and just see what I have accomplished. Now all of you become just like me, and then we'll just see what can be accomplished. At that time, he said there, maybe he had 500 initiated disciples. Now we are 500. Each one of you become just like me. Thank you, Maharaj. Any other comments or questions on text 80? We've got, let's see, text 81. Medium-sized purport. I think we can probably look at that. Let's see. Venkatesh Prabhu, are you able to read text 80? I'm sorry, 81.
Yes, okay.
Jai, thank you.
Deva uchuhu Devam vidamu Bhagavan Pranarodham Chara Chara Fyakila Satvadhamna Videhitanno Vrijinad Vimoksham Prapta Vayam Tvam Sharanam Sharanyam. Translation. The demigod said, Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non-moving living entities. We feel all living entities to be suffocating, their breathing process choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of all surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. Kindly save us from this danger. Dhruva Maharaj's influence, attained by executing devotional service unto the Lord, was felt even by the demigods, who had never before experienced such a situation. Because of Dhruva Maharaj controlling his breathing, the entire universal breathing process was choked. It is by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that material entities cannot breathe, whereas spiritual entities are able to breathe. Material entities are products of Lord's external energy, whereas spiritual entities are products of Lord's internal energy. The demigods approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of both kinds of entities, in order to know why their breathing was choked. Supreme Lord is ultimate goal for the solution to all problems within this material world. In the spiritual world, there are no problems, but the material world is always problematic. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of both material and spiritual world, it is better to approach him in all problematic situations. Therefore, those who are devotees have no problems in his material world. Vishwam Purna Sukhayat, Chetan Chandramrit. The devotees are free from all problems because they are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For a devotee, everything in the world is very pleasing because he knows how to use everything in transcendental loving service of the Lord. So here, Prabhupada is very nicely explaining what was the actual situation. So in this verse, the demigods are now approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Dhruva Maharaj became one with the universe and he was not breathing, so it appears that the breathing process of all the living entities were choked up. That I'm not sure exactly what was the uh, way by which that happened. Did the air stop, flowing everywhere, or did the individual living entities have something? Their breathing was choked up within their own body. I'm not very sure. I didn't catch that, but ultimately they were not able to breathe. So here Prabhupada mentions that material entities like some whatever stone or wood, these things they don't breathe. But spiritual entities, the living entities, they breathe. So that is a difference between what is alive and what is dead. And in the spiritual world, there are no problems. In the material world, it's full of problems. Dukkhalayam, ashashvaram. So, and one more comparison which Prabhupada gives is that for a devotee, there are no problems in this world. He quotes Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur's Chaitanya Chandramrita, Vishwam Purna Sukayati. It's one of my favorite verses, Vishwam Purna Sukayati, Idi Mahendra, Iti Tayat. So it compares that, it says that the material world is pleasurable for devotees because they have surrendered to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here we see that when there was a problem, the demigods, who are actually devotees of the Lord, they approached the Lord. So devotees, in general, are always under the protection of the Lord, so fully surrendered. So for them, the Lord is always there, and He will guide them at every step when there is a problem, and they don't feel there is a problem. Then many times, Lord Himself personally intervenes in the life of a devotee and does the needful. So finally, He says that there is no we devotees use everything in the service of the Lord. So therefore, the world is very pleasing for him. Though for a layman, it may be very problematic, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, dukkha vashashvas. So nice comparisons are given in this purport.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Something more? Are you? Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai
Maharaj,
Maharaj, correct.
kindly say something.
I'm reminded here of that of a quote picked out by Jagatarani Dasi, where Prabhupada said that the devotee has no problems. If there's any problem, it's Krishna's problem. Why should I worry about it? It's Krishna's business to take care of it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Praveen Krishna Prabhu asks, the world is degrading more despite many becoming devotees. It doesn't match the saying that more devotees equals a better world.
It can, things can change, not that they must change.
Hare Krishna. That very saying by Jagatarani Mataji, or that she pointed that out in what Prabhupada tribute book, we printed that out and put it right on our altar. Why my problem? Krishna can know how to solve problem. We have no problem practically. Hare Krishna. Our only problem is that we're running out of time. So Krishna Konteya Prabhu, could you lead us in our closing kirtan for Friday night?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Nitai Gora, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora, Haribo, Jayon Vishnupa, Ramasa, Vairaj Jagacharya, Asodara, Satashi Srimad, His Divine Grace, AC, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad, Brahmasa, Vairajacharya, Asotar Sata, Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Guru Das Maharaj Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Silhari Das Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Ko, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitai Gora, Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.
Haribol, thank you so much, Krishna Kanteya Prabhu. There's a final comment from Madhavi Devi that I'm going to cut and paste, and we can open up our next class with. It's on the topic of these verses, so we'll put that in the queue for Monday. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Haribo.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to Dev,
Hare Krishna. Krishna Kanteya Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Bo.
Haribo.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Hope to see you on Monday or sooner. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bo. Nitai Gaura, Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.